let's see. It is time to ink. It is time to ink. I guess it must be 111. Ah, yes, this was the last thing I did. You gotta get the squeeze thing going with his hand, but that's okay. We basically are in pretty good shape as far as a starting point. So, I'm gonna go to lines layer and silhouette. Hello? There we go. And I'm gonna go to charcoal. And I'm gonna go to my ink brush. And I'm just gonna get busy. Now, radius is 5 pixels. I wonder about this, actually. Before I go too much further, I'm going to lighten these guys up a bit. On my brush, I had a feeling. There's the problem. We don't want the post-processing, and we want maximal active smooth. Let me just check. Yes. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to redo this. Oh, come on. Okay, so Blender's got a bit of a silly way to do undo, and that it undoes everything you've done. So in other words, I can't undo these lines without undoing all the changes I made over here to the layers and stuff. So I've got to do it that way. But hey, we're just getting in the groove here. Just getting started, folks. Just getting started. Yeah, see, now I don't have the problem of the lines rounding out right here. With post-production smoothing, it usually messes up anything that's pointy. Sounds a bit crazy, but nonetheless, it is true. Go and give that a little extra. Oh, that's fine. And we will leave his mouth to another layer. Won't we? Yes, we will. That is what we will do. No, didn't like that. I have one of these little coincidences going on here, which is that her pigtail's kind of showing up right where her hand is. Let's rethink that a bit, shall we? Let's just drag this down that way, just so it's, visible below where the hand is. I would call the look on her face consternation, probably. Yeah, that'll work. I think. Whoops. Don't like that. That's better. Guess we could probably zoom out for this one. Save early, save often. That's the rule. Okay, so now I'm gonna actually zoom in a little bit here and just look and make sure. Yeah, so you got a little gap there. Now, of course, Blender, for doing the paint part, Blender does have the gap size as a parameter on the fill tool, meaning that it can detect gaps like this one I saw right there and fill the area anyway. My general contention that you don't want to depend on leak filling too much, just because it tends to also mean that when the software fills in an area, that what will happen is areas like this will not fill completely. It'll get cut off about here, and this area here will not be filled. And that's because it's apparently detecting this distance here as some kind of gap. I'd have to study how gap detection algorithms are implemented to really understand why that would be a characteristic, but I've noticed it not just in Blender. I've noticed it in other software that has a leak detection capability. So, I mean, it can be generally said that you're better off to fill in those holes yourself, you know. Boom. Boom. Boop. Just making sure. Just making sure. Just making sure. Okay, wait a second here. Actually, I guess that's kind of sort of correct. I made a mistake. This really should not be here. None of that should. Because at this point, her dress is in fact being held up and held together by her. Boom. So, why Blender? I gotta say that for ink and paint, I mean, for paint it's good. For ink, it's very good. I think the biggest thing I've been liking with Blender 2.8 is the handling of the brushes for ink and paint. And the pencil's fine. Actually, the pencil's perfect. You know, there's no complaints there. But the combination of pressure, smoothing, you know, just all the characteristics of the pen make it feel really sort of intuitive. If I want to make an even line, I can. If I want to give it a little bit more variation, I can. The way the smoothing is implemented feels very good, very natural. It doesn't overly change my lines. And then the other thing that you always want to keep in mind with Blender is that the grease pencil is, for all practical purposes, a vector format, which means I can take this drawing of her and if I were to bring it into, okay, actually I want edit mode, don't I? Yeah, so I guess I'm in edit mode. So if I had a close-up of Akari in another shot, well, as you can see, looks fine. We could blow that up and reuse it elsewhere. Now, it can be argued that for an anime, you might actually want to not do that. I feel like I made her neck too thick, by the way. Because when you are really close up to characters on the screen, you generally want a little bit more variation in the thickness of the lines. So that's probably pretty good right there. So now we're on the lines layer, and okay, this is interesting. Oh, I see. I was way up ahead. I was in the wrong spot. Okay, so now we want to go to the next key. And boop. I'm going to go ahead and add a few keys. Boop. Actually, that's the only one I'm going to add, because this drawing is going to actually repeat 3 times. Okay, obviously this is a bit of an annoyance, I must say. The whole thing of, are we going back to frame 1 or are we going back to frame 0? I guess I could solve it by, I don't know. Wait a minute. Yeah, see, you can see, this is, to me, it's a little bizarre. You can set your start to frame 1, which I did. If you hit rewind, it goes to frame 1, but yet you can drag to frame 0. Now, what makes it weird compared to other versions of Blender is you can't go to negative frames, which in the past you would have been able to. Not that that's a big deal that you want to do that all the time, but why am I, if I've set my start frame to 1 instead of 0, why would I still be able to go to 0 at all? Don't really see where that's a win. So, oh, that's enough ranting for today, wouldn't you say? I think so. All in all, Blender 2.8 has been much improved of late. I'm going to actually kind of do something like that. Keep this inking job very clinical. In other words, what I'm doing right now is I am making it a point to not think at all about what I'm drawing. I don't care what I'm drawing. All I care about is that I accurately reproduce the lines. So it's just a different mentality. There's a point here in the inking process where I won't be doing that. But for right now, yeah, I'm just trying to move rapidly and get the bulk of the inking blocked in successfully. Yeah, there's a couple aspects of his costume that I'm going to have to take a bit of a look at here before too long, but it's not pressing at the moment. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's probably a tad questionable. Actually, this whole stroke right there is a tad questionable. Yeah, I would say that's probably okay. Again, we're not going to draw the mouth. Okay, in Zen's case, at least at this point, and until I am told it's a problem, I'm doing his eyebrows as just lines. But you know what? I'm wondering. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a new rule for myself, which is this. Whoever's talking, their eyebrows go in the lip sync layer. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, we got that one done. Next frame. Okay, this is the one that, as I said, is going to repeat. So and obviously it's a pretty tight close-up. We want to make sure we're reasonably precise with our lines. Okay, right there's a glitch. I don't like that either. I want to come around from this way. Whoops. And I believe in this case, his this is a really tricky expression because it's not supposed to look like he's looking at her seductively, so to speak. He's just smirking. You know, he sees Akari as a sister, so it was a little tricky to not make it look like he was kind of looking her up and down. The reality is he is looking her up and down, but from the standpoint of laughing at her, basically, for getting herself in this pickle that he's sort of getting her out of. Okay. Now in this case, as I noted earlier, because he's not speaking, I'm going ahead and putting in some eyebrow action. I don't know, it's one of those tug-of-war things. We do it, you know, in the pencil test, it's just a bunch of scribbles. And it feels good, looks good, yada, yada, yada. So then the question becomes, well, then why don't you just keep it as scribbles? Actually, you know what? I do not want to duplicate that one. Okay, so I'm duplicating this so that I can have everything duplicated except his eye direction. Okay, and now that the eyeballs are in there, or the irises I should say, now I can duplicate this one and then come back to this one and put the direction of his eyes more indownulated. Yes, indownulated I believe is the term we're looking for. Yeah, cool beans. Right, so now we go to this shot and we draw a dot. Okay, now again, I am not going to draw the ninjas on this layer. I'm going to give them their own layer since they repeat over quite a few shots of Akari. Before I go too far though, what I want to do is I want to look at the shots of Akari and see what is repeating. You know, not a ton. I mean, I could probably draw her on this, at least on this shot, and then her face will repeat. But basically, it looks like, strategically speaking, the way to approach this sequence would be to just draw the frames one at a time and just look at what the next one has in it. Does the next one reuse some stuff from the prior? Which it will. Okay, go ahead and just copy the keyframe at that point. Pretty straightforward. Okay, so Boom, 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 boom. I'm drawing quickly, fairly quickly. I didn't really make her pigtail long enough in the pencil test. I noticed just now. Now here we're going to have that overlap that I said was slightly egregious earlier. It's a wider shot. I don't think we really care. Okay, that's not too bad. So now let's zoom in. Let's get a little bit closer viewpoint so we can see what we're doing. It's kind of weird that it seems like my pen had more. It does seem like I've lost some of my it's still, I guess it's still working. My range of pressure sensitivity is pretty low. It's like I have a little bit of room for variation in the line, but not too much. Which was that was a decision I made when I created the brush, because I really wanted it to be, since this is anime, I wanted it to be a very mostly consistent line, except in cases where you're in a real close-up. Then it makes a little more sense to possibly give the lines some more dynamics. So anyway, like I said, inking in Blender 2.8 is definitely a pleasant experience. Alright, technically her hand should be covered up like that by the dress, right? Or the nightgown, I should say, is really what it is. Okay, that's cool. Nah, I'm thinking we want to have that little flippy flip in there. Okay. So now these kind of cross a bit. Boom, boom. Okay. Yeah, it's very much a different, I don't know about you people, but I know that for me, the idea of different brain states is kind of interesting. The alpha, beta, theta, gamma waves, and entrainment and that sort of stuff. It's just interesting. There's a lot of overlap between the realms of spirituality and esoterica and science, frankly, in when it comes to things like some of the things we're learning today about the way the brain works. But the reason I said that is that I think there are definitely different states you get in when you're doing this kind of work, and the brain state. Okay, that looks stupid. The brain state when I'm inking versus when I'm doing the pencil test is very different. I'm thinking about crafting a visual story when I'm doing the pencil test, whereas when I'm inking, it's more like it's just grunt work, Not too shabby. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I think I'm just going to redraw her for this frame. I'll get a little bit of leverage on the next one. Whoops, I'm hitting the not control key when I was trying to hit the control key. Okay, so I've been getting a little bit too aggressive there with her ears, I must say. Boom, boom. Somebody's running some... Sounds like a mini bike or something out there. Whoops. Maybe one of the neighbors got a new toy. Boom, boom. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just gonna check this. How in the heck? No wonder. Golly, I switched that. That's irritating. I do not remember turning it back on. So yeah, that's definitely irritating. I like the active smoothing. I really like it. The post-production smoothing, meh. It is not as favorable. IMHO. That's my opinion. Oh, but wait, you knew that because I just said IMHO. Didn't I? Okay, so this goes here and there. And do 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 do. Do 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 do. It's a little straighter than I did it in the pencil test, but actually I think that's okay. Boom, baby. Okay, yeah. I knew this was a little too straight, but yeah, that was definitely not quite correct. Boom, boom, boom. And now I drew her thumb like this, which isn't horrid, but honestly, it seems like it'd be more like that. Both are legitimate strategies for how one might want to draw a, well, a thumb, quite frankly. Just a thumb. Okay, this is going to be kind of getting stretched a bit. And now what we want to do is kind of be a little bit more conservative with the sizing. I think I made her hand actually a little bit, giving her man hands here. Accidentally. By accident, which is what we say where I grew up, but here in Indiana, people don't say by accident. This didn't happen by accident. It happened on accident. Now, for me, that does not seem like proper English. But it is certainly the colloquialism of the region. So, who am I to say that I know how to speak and someone else doesn't? Who am I to say? I'll tell you who I am to say. I'm nobody to say. By gum. Yeah, and there, yeah, the only thing that changes is her lip sync, actually. So I just need to draw her eyes, her very irritated eyes, by the way. And just the one time, I'm going to go ahead and, I'll tell you what, I'm going to make it a point here to move this eye over a little bit. Yeah, I got to squint at it, and yes, I think so. I feel like I made her eyes a little bit too close together. Yeah, that didn't work. It still didn't work. It's because of the way my hand's moving. I'm going to try it one more time. And I got it. There we go. All right. I think I will leave the. Gonna leave the. Can't talk and think at the same time. Yeah, I'm gonna leave the eyebrows. I'm leaving the eyebrows for. And honestly, in this drawing, we really do need to have her ponytail. And over here, we need to have her pigtail. Now, you may use different terms. I don't really think this is a pigtail because I always sort of thought a pigtail was supposed to be a braid. But who knows? It probably depends. Just like the term on accident, it probably depends on where you're from. What you consider to be a pigtail. Now, one could argue that on this shot, her hand should be going like this. It should be moving. We shall see. This is the one that's interesting, though. Let's see. I think I'm going to redraw it. And actually, I am inclined at this moment to take a bit of a break. I've been inking for a half hour, so I think I want to take a brief break before I come back to inking. I have to admit, this is not anywhere near as fun as doing the pencil test. Not even close. Well, okay, maybe it's close. Another thing that's worth considering here would be to really cheat like crazy. And the way I would cheat is I'd go like this. Make sure the proportional editing's off. I'd go Shift D. Then I'd go Scale X -1. Rotate that a little bit. And honestly, I'm thinking, nope, I don't want to catch this. There we go. That looks better. Okay, somebody made the point that there we go. There we go. It was I believe it was Jim P Animation. Yeah. If I turn the vertex opacity down in the viewport, like way down, it's much easier to see what I've grabbed. Much easier to see. Let me see. Okay, it looks like fine-tuning it's not going to be as easy as I hoped, because the level that's correct at this scale versus this scale, they're not quite matching that well, but that's okay. That's better than it was. Okay, yeah. So with that, I'm going to take a break. This has been Ink and Paint, but actually without the paint, in Blender 2.8. And as you know, there will be more later.